the channel. Today we're going to be talking about 5 things that I loved about Halloween Ends. While overall at the moment, I'm not going to lie, I am kind of disappointed with the final film that we got in this trilogy. One thing that I'm definitely not a part of, and something that I'm really not liking at the moment, is the wave of hate that this film is getting right now. Obviously, I know Kill's got a lot of hate for its flaws, and yeah, it's not the perfect film. But I think with this film obviously being the final one in it, it's affected a lot of hardcore fans. And while I completely get the frustrations that people have with this film, I have some too. I'm going to be making a video on 5 things that I'm not as keen on. And as well as that, my previous video, I discussed very clearly that I was quite disappointed with the film. But from the videos that I have watched, it feels like some people aren't allowed to have an opinion if it's not that the film is awful. I've seen that there's a petition to completely reshoot the film. Like, just so much outrage, which, like, I understand when you're passionate about something, things can just take over. But yeah, it's crazy how much this film has caused in terms of like just negativity in the horror community. Obviously, I haven't had this channel for very long, so this is the first time I'm really experiencing something like this. And I mean, luckily it's not coming to my channel as such. I haven't really been uploading, but some of the comment sections I'm seeing on some people's videos is just crazy. But without further ado, I'm gonna be talking about some things that I did like about this film, because it is a film that I can see myself going back and watching in the future. It's not a resurrection for me. It's not a complete write-off. And I think the more time that passes and the more I accept that this is just how the trilogy has ended, it's definitely not the way that I wanted it to end. And if I could make changes, I would. But in terms of a standalone film, I think it's a pretty cool, different approach. But coming in at number 1, Corey Cunningham. When the rumours were first going around about Corey and this whole like copycat killer kind of thing, you know, somebody else being in the Michael mask or being a killer in this, I found it quite cringy. I wasn't much of a fan of the idea right up until I was sat in the cinema. I thought, I don't know what I'm going to get here. And by the time the film was done and I could properly process it, I really didn't expect to like Corey as much as I did. I thought Rowan Campbell did an amazing job at portraying the character, you know, being put into a trilogy in the final film. And at the centre of this film as well, he is literally the main character. You know, I thought his performance was great, and I really liked watching Corey go down this kind of dark path and change as a character in front of us. And to be honest, I'm quite sad that they killed him off. I thought it was a little bit of a waste, and I feel like he should have maybe made it right to the bitter end. I know he wasn't far off the end, but I feel like he maybe could have been a little bit more to do with the final sequence. But yeah, Corey Cunningham, really liked his character, and he is actually pretty much the sole reason that I enjoy the first part of this film. I think it's kind of fun and refreshing to watch him, again, as I said, go down this dark path and just change. And then coming in at number 2 is the opening sequence to the film. I absolutely loved the opening to this film. It wasted absolutely no time in introducing us to the main character in Corey. I remember being sat when I was first watching it, and when the kid does go upstairs and he's screaming help, I was thinking, like, is this Michael? I didn't know. And you know, it created some tension for me. I felt tense watching it because I really did not know how it was going to go. Obviously, we know the little bit of information that we did get in that Corey is accused of murder. So I'm like, is it Michael that kills him and frames Corey somehow? Does Corey kill him? And then obviously, as we know, the kid dies. He goes over the banister. Like, my jaw dropped. I did not expect the opening to be so, like, just there in your face. And of course, what was a huge cherry on the top was us getting the Halloween Season of the Witch font and colours for the opening. I always love the opening titles to the Halloween films, and this trilogy hasn't disappointed in any of them. But yeah, seeing it in that blue colour was really cool, and I'm really glad that they did that. I really liked the opening to this film. I thought it was strong. Now, number 3 is the soundtrack of the film. As always, when John Carpenter is involved, we're going to get some incredible scores for the Halloween films. And the soundtrack to this film, as well as the previous 2, like, I can't fault them. I go back and listen to them all the time, and Halloween Ends didn't disappoint again. I'm definitely having to give it a few more listens just to the whole soundtrack to see where I might rank it between the last 2 films. But John and Cody Carpenter and then Daniel Davies really did not disappoint at all. You know, especially being sat in a cinema with the surround sound all around you, you can feel it in the chair almost. And then even the bits that I don't think John Carpenter was really a part of, obviously the standout one being Don't Fear the Reaper right at the end of the film, but also like through the film, there's some scenes with Corey and Allison feel very Lost Boys to me. I mean, the physical parts of this film. There are parts of this film that I just feel like is Lost Boys. I really like the soundtrack to this film just in general, but obviously having John Carpenter doing the original scores, incredible. Now, number 4 is going to be Laurie's character development in this film since the previous two. Because in terms of all the Halloween films just coming out of this timeline, since 1981 with Halloween 2, we haven't really got to see this unprepared, innocent Laurie Strode that we did see in the first two films. And one thing I noticed when I watched this film was that I think it did a good job showing that because of how much like control Michael had over her and how she obsessed over him, you know, she didn't really ever get to live a normal life, so it's almost like she never really grew up and matured as such. I could be using the wrong word in there, but what I mean is like there are points in this film where it feels like we've got that teenage Laurie Strode again that we did in the first two. You know, I'm sure a scene that stands out to all of us is when she's shopping and she sees Hawkins and they just have that interaction. There was a little bit of it in Kills, but definitely more so now. Like, you know, they're kind of both flirting like teenagers. She's playing with her hair. You know, every time I've seen that scene, I can't help but smile. So I really liked how they implemented that back in this film, and we got that little bit of like the old Laurie, the one that we haven't seen in years. Now, number 5, I wanted to get like a more specific just scene on this. I know I've spoke about scenes with my points, but I was kind of torn between two, but I think in terms of a general scene and a standout to me, I'm a really big fan of the bully's death scene. It was kind of between this and when he goes for the DJ host, which is obviously also a really good kill. I'm kind of upset it's not Michael, but even still, he's in the mask. It's still kind of the shape. However, the bully scene, the kills are all great, bar the one off-screen one that we didn't get to see, but, you know, it is what it is. You know, we get the music building as we're first seeing Corey dressed as the shape. It's the first time. A big reason as well that I like this scene is because Ron, his stepdad, I believe it's his stepdad because he calls him Ron at a certain point and not dad, but Ron obviously is at the junkyard and, you know, we see he's there, we see Corey's brought them there. That little bit of tension again starts building. You know, if you kind of build a liking to a character, which I feel like I did, I can't necessarily say I really cared about him, but he had some great one-liners in my opinion. And, you know, he seemed like a genuinely good guy that I didn't want him to die. But yeah, you start getting that little bit of an inkling that something bad might happen to him here. Is Corey gonna kill him? And I'm unsure on whether I would have rathered Corey kill him. Who knows whether he would have killed him regardless. You know, I think that would kind of show us another like level up of Corey transitioning into that like form of pure evil. But, you know, regardless, obviously that main bully, I forget his name, but, you know, he's there with the shotgun and it was kind of a sad death. You know, I think it does kind of finish that character, as short as it was, really well. Like the last thing he does is take a bullet for his son. Crazy stuff happening, but it was a sad death for sure, and we get that revenge almost in him killing him, and just that main bully being a dick in general. You know, as Corey puts the blowtorch to his mouth, like, that is brutal. And I like the way it's shot as well in that kind of blur where we can see the other bully, I think her name was Margot, I could be wrong, trapped underneath all the fencing because obviously Corey hit her with a car. And then, you know, to top it off, Corey stands over her in that great shot where it's low down and you're kind of just looking up at him as she is. And then just like 2018, obviously with Sartain, Corey stomps her head, absolutely decimates it, and then again like Sartain runs it over. And again, even though it's not Michael, I still love this scene. And yeah, they were 5 things that I did enjoy about this movie. There is definitely more things that I enjoyed about the film. This is just 5 that kind of come to my head and things that I continuously noticed when watching it. As I said, my next video is going to be 5 things that I didn't like as much, so definitely stay tuned for that. Please subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you guys